The mysterious disappearance of Suzanne Morphew. In the year 2020, a small community in Chaffee County was rocked by the sudden disappearance of Suzanne Morphew, a 49-year-old woman from Maysville. It all began on a seemingly ordinary day when Suzanne failed to return from her usual bike ride in the area of County Road 225 and US 50. Concerned for her safety, a neighbor contacted the county's communications center, initiating a search operation. Law enforcement agencies, including the Sheriff's Office, Chaffee County Search and Rescue, and teams from the Colorado Department of Corrections, joined forces with tracking dogs and a tactical team from Mesa County. Over 100 people dedicated their time and efforts to finding Suzanne, scouring the surrounding area. Unfortunately, despite their exhaustive search, Suzanne remained missing. In a desperate attempt to bring her back home, a reward of $200,000 was offered for any information leading to Suzanne's safe return. The reward was a combination of contributions from her husband and a generous family friend who matched the initial offer. As the investigation intensified, investigators discovered a personal item believed to belong to Suzanne in the vicinity of Maysville. This finding prompted a meticulous search of the rugged and challenging terrain in hopes of finding more clues or belongings that could shed light on her disappearance. With the involvement of local, state, and federal law enforcement, the search expanded, with U.S. Highway 50 at Monarch Pass being temporarily closed to facilitate the operation. Authorities recognized the importance of community support in locating Suzanne. They appealed to the residents of Salida and surrounding areas to preserve any video recordings from security cameras and other devices that operated between May 8th and 12th. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation joined the search efforts, highlighting the seriousness of Suzanne's case. As investigators pursued every lead, they turned their attention to Suzanne's residence, which became a focal point of the investigation. Approximately 200 tips were received, and law enforcement continued to categorize the case as a missing person investigation. The search led authorities to a residential property in East Salida, where they conducted an extensive 3-day search. Despite their efforts, no significant breakthroughs were made, and the property owner was cleared of any connection to Suzanne's disappearance. Despite the challenges and the absence of concrete leads, Sheriff John Spetz urged the community to remain vigilant and continue providing tips through the designated hotline. He emphasized the significance of even seemingly inconsequential information, believing that it could hold the key to locating Suzanne. While the search operations for Suzanne Morphew concluded for the time being, the investigation remained active. The Morphew family regained control of Suzanne's residence after it was seized with a search warrant, allowing them to maintain a connection to their beloved missing family member. As the community grappled with the mystery surrounding Suzanne's disappearance, authorities tirelessly followed up on the numerous tips pouring in. Over 400 people were interviewed, and approximately 1,400 tips were received regarding the case. The investigators diligently pursued every lead and worked tirelessly to uncover the truth. Finally, in early April 2021, investigators presented their case to the district attorney's office. Based on the evidence and information gathered, the decision was made to charge Barry Morphew, Suzanne's husband, with first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and attempt to influence a public servant. However, the specifics of the evidence were not disclosed, and the case file, including the arrest affidavit, remained sealed. Barry Morphew, 53, was arrested without incident near his home in the Poncha Springs area on the morning of Wednesday, May 2021. He was described as cooperative during the arrest. Following his arrest, he was questioned by investigators but chose not to answer their questions and requested an attorney. The charges brought against Barry Morphew indicated that investigators and prosecutors believed that Suzanne Morphew was no longer alive. While scenarios about Suzanne's death were considered, the details were not disclosed due to the ongoing investigation and the absence of a body as evidence. The district attorney expressed confidence in the charges brought against Barry Morphew, stating that she wouldn't have proceeded unless she was certain. The impact of Suzanne's disappearance and the subsequent arrest of her husband extended beyond her immediate family. The Chaffee County community was deeply affected by the case, and they sought justice for Suzanne. During the court proceedings, details about Suzanne and Barry Morphew's troubled marriage were revealed. Testimony indicated that Suzanne had been involved in an extramarital affair for nearly 2 years before her disappearance. The affair, along with financial issues and discussions of divorce, contributed to the turmoil in their relationship. Suzanne's fears regarding her husband's behavior were documented through text messages and conversations with friends. The small community of Salida, Colorado, had been captivated by the case since Suzanne's disappearance in May 2020. However, just 9 days before the trial was set to begin, a shocking decision was made. The 11th Judicial District Attorney Linda Stanley dropped all charges against Barry Morphew. This surprising move came after the judge presiding over the case excluded most of the prosecution's expert witnesses for violating discovery rules. Suzanne's family had mixed reactions to the dismissal. Barry's adult daughters, Mallory and Macy, steadfastly stood by their father, maintaining his innocence. They believed he had no involvement in their mother's disappearance. On the other hand, Suzanne's siblings were disappointed by the decision and hoped for justice to be served. They expressed their belief that the murder case should be revisited in the future. Despite the dropped charges, the search for Suzanne continued. District Attorney Stanley announced that investigators were closing in on finding Suzanne Morphew's body. Their efforts focused on a mountainous region near Barry's former home, but deep snow hampered their progress. The possibility of finding Suzanne's remains offered a chance to uncover crucial evidence that could either incriminate or exonerate Barry Morphew. Throughout the case, the judicial system faced criticism for mishandling evidence and violating discovery rules. The exclusion of key witnesses by the judge further complicated the proceedings, raising questions about the fairness of the trial. As the community waited for the next chapter in this high-profile case, the search for truth and justice for Suzanne Morphew continued. In the year 2022, 11th Judicial District Attorney Linda Stanley faced severe criticism and judicial sanctions for a pattern of discovery violations within her office. A Fremont County District Court judge threw out a first-degree murder charge against defendant Joseph Tippett due to the prosecution's failure to turn over crucial information to the defense, marking yet another instance of misconduct. The judge's scathing 21-page order highlighted a disturbing trend of discovery violations in 20 cases over the past 2 years involving Stanley's office. Serious charges such as homicides, assaults, sexual assaults, and kidnapping were affected. Examples of misconduct included late disclosure of evidence, withholding body-worn camera footage until shortly before trial, and failing to disclose exculpatory evidence until days before trial. The judge attributed these violations to high staff turnover, poor communication with law enforcement agencies, and a lack of training and oversight. Despite previous sanctions, the pattern of neglect persisted within the district attorney's office, prompting the judge to call for immediate changes to their discovery practices. These revelations came at a time when Linda Stanley was already under investigation by the Office of Attorney Regulation Counsel for multiple complaints of professional misconduct. One of the complaints was filed by defense attorney Iris Eiton, who represented Barry Morphew, a high-profile murder case defendant accused of killing his wife, Suzanne Morphew. Eiton accused Stanley and 6 other prosecutors involved in the case of misrepresenting evidence, withholding exculpatory evidence, and committing numerous ethical violations. In an 86-page request for investigation, Eiton called for state authorities to discipline or disbar Linda Stanley and her colleagues, emphasizing the need for accountability and consequences for prosecutorial misconduct. Barry Morphew's murder charges were dropped in 2021 due to the district attorney's office's discovery violations and were a subject of controversy and concern. Eiton's complaint highlighted the intentional concealment of highly exculpatory evidence, including DNA from an unknown male found in Suzanne Morphew's car, which had potential ties to other unsolved sexual assault crimes. The failure to disclose this evidence violated Colorado's discovery laws. Moreover, Eiton alleged additional ethical violations, such as allowing dishonest testimony, violating the rights of Morphew's daughters as victims, and surprising them with a motion to dismiss the case without prior consultation, contrary to the Victim Rights Act. Barry Morphew filed a federal civil rights lawsuit seeking $15 million in damages, claiming malicious prosecution, fabrication of evidence, concealment of exculpatory evidence, and a reckless investigation that caused him harm and violated his constitutional rights. The lawsuit targeted Chaffee County, the Sheriff's Office, the Board of Commissioners, Linda Stanley, members of her staff, and agents from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and the FBI. The lawsuit followed a professional complaint lodged by Iris Eiton against Stanley and her colleagues, emphasizing the importance of accountability and justice for the wrongful arrest and prosecution of Barry Morphew. In a world where justice should be blind and truth should prevail, the revelations surrounding Linda Stanley and her office's discovery violations serve as a stark reminder of the vital importance of integrity, transparency, and accountability within our legal system. The case of Barry Morphew and the subsequent fallout shine a light on the devastating consequences that can arise when prosecutorial misconduct goes unchecked. Lives are irreversibly impacted, trust is shattered, and the pursuit of justice becomes tainted. We must demand better. We must insist on a system that upholds the highest standards of fairness and ethics. It is essential for prosecutors to uphold their duty to seek the truth, not just secure convictions at any cost. The deliberate concealment of evidence, late disclosures, and ethical violations erode the very foundation of justice. As citizens, we have a responsibility to hold those entrusted with power accountable. We must demand robust oversight, effective training, and stringent measures to prevent and address prosecutorial misconduct. Only by doing so can we ensure that our legal system works to protect the innocent, punish the guilty, and uphold the principles of justice. Let us remember the case of Barry Morphew as a reminder of the dire consequences when those responsible for upholding justice fail in their duty. Together, we can strive for a system that promotes integrity, fairness, and equal treatment under the law for all.